Hello and welcome to Trojans Live, presented by your Southern California BMW Centers on the home of USC football, ESPN Los Angeles 710. We have a huge show for you tonight, starting with the new head coach of the University of Southern California. Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for Clay Helton in the house. We've had him all year, but he is the man now. And later we'll hear from Sua Cravens and Marcus Allen, so a current great and a former great, plus joined by legendary USC men's tennis duo, the head coach Peter Smith and his greatest player Steve Johnson. I am Jordan Moore alongside John Jackson and JJ. How's it feel to be sitting next to head coach Clay Helton? It saves me a word, at least.
Well, yeah. I think I should. We get rewarded or something, Coach. I mean, we are by far your biggest fans. Maybe a commission check, something like that.
We knew you when.
No question.
We knew you way back when you weren't a head coach.
Exactly.
Let's hear from the Pac-12 South champion, brought to you by your Southern California BMW Centers, exclusive partner of the SoCal BMW Crosstown Cup. For a limited time, take advantage of 0.9% APR in all 2011, 2012, and 2013 certified pre-owned BMW models. Details at SoCalBMW.com. All right, Coach, we heard from you today a little bit in the press conference, but never really got the story. So how did it all unfold, other than you and your wife dancing around and screaming at 1 a.m.? How did the whole day unfold in your conversations, in particular with Pat Hayden?
It was great. I had the opportunity to visit with Coach Hayden on Sunday after a big UCLA victory, and just really answered some final questions that he had, and he made me the happiest person on earth to have the opportunity to coach an unbelievable football team for a terrific university and a terrific football family. So, really wanted to keep it extremely quiet because we wanted our players to know first. And it's amazing in this time's technology and how information is crossed. It was truly special this morning. It's a moment that I'll never forget, to see the reaction of the players and how I know the videos out there on the internet now. My kids loved it, but to just have them have the opportunity to be the first to know. I mean, literally, it was my wife, myself, and a handful of administrators. My mom and dad didn't even know. My brother didn't even know, but our players got to know first, and that's what was so special, and that was a special moment for myself and them too.
Yeah, I was a little bit disappointed in my sources that they weren't able to get that information out to me a little bit quicker. Just talk about the emotion, from the players. I mean, that had to feel good. I mean, of all the things that have happened, throughout this coaching run of yours, just their joy and happiness had to make you feel good.
It goes back to show you how important relationships are in this business, and they're everything. The trust that you have in your players and they have in you, it means the whole world, and that is a huge key to success. And to see those relationships come to fruition at this point of the season, and to be able to be a part of it with them for years to come, it's truly special for myself and my family.
Now that you are, permanent head coach or actual head coach, is there anything that you would tack differently than you did as interim head coach? And any differences that people are going to see, or at least in your mind, your mindset?
What you see is what you get. That's when I entered the job. I chose to be myself. I chose to do the things that I believe in, and that's to take care of football players, help them any way I can to help them win football games, be a servant to them and to the university, and go by a game plan and a blueprint that I feel works and wins championships at the highest level, and to instill a toughness and a grit and a blue-collar mentality that I truly believe is a success, has been the success of USC in the years past. So nothing will change, and that's what I told the players. What you see is what you get, and we will always play fearless, we will always play aggressive, and we'll always play to win championships, and that's how we'll do it.
That's sort of been the amazing thing for me, is that throughout this run of yours, whatever the issue was, it's been attacked, and it's been attacked head on, whether it be, defensive line play, position by position. How much more is there that needs to be done? I mean, I know you've had a game plan all along. How much of the game plan have we yet to see?
Well, I think there's the biggest movement is still the development of our players. If you look out on that field, it was amazing how many freshmen made plays in that game. I was so proud of a Biggie Marshall to go out there, had a little bit of a struggle in Oregon, to see him put in the work ethic that whole week and really be challenged, and go out there and play like he did, it just shows me that, gosh, we've progressed as a team, and that's what you want to see throughout a season. But there's so much more room for development for our young players, and that's going to be my primary focus as a head coach going into the spring.
You know, I thought the coolest moment of the press conference was when you addressed your family, and particularly your wife. I think everyone was getting a little misty-eyed in there. I think you were getting a little misty-eyed. But, you know, it sort of speaks to the theme of the day was that this was as much about character, integrity, and maybe bringing some stability, you know, to this program right now. You know, how much do you think what you've done off the field is over your 6 years here is maybe helped you as much as what you did on the field?
Well, I think as a head coach and a leader, I talked about in the press conference, there's a culture that you have to create, and a culture that produces elite universities and elite football programs, and that's a culture of winning, that's a culture of academics, that's a culture of compliance, and it's a culture of respect in society. And if you focus on those type of things, usually when your off the field habits are great, your on the field habits are great. And so it's just as important, character is, as the X's and O's. And I'm very proud of the guys that, one, we've brought in over the last 6 years of being here, but also how they act off the field and the things that they're doing. They're class act people. They're not only great players, they're really first class people.
There's been an exciting couple of days for you. Ending with the UCLA game or starting with the UCLA game and ending today.
Mm-hmm.
Have you had a chance to sort of sit back and understand all the things you've accomplished, even look back on where you have been in the past, to where now you sit as a head coach at USC?
I have a sickness, JJ, I'll be honest with you. As soon as I got home from the UCLA game, I went immediately to the TV and tried to get the Stanford Notre Dame game on, and me and my 12-year-old Turner were watching it together, and I'm trying to get one little nugget from them. But 7 weeks ago, this staff committed to going to try to win a championship and knew we could make a championship run, and we've done the Pac-12 South, and our blinders are still on. You have to be that way as a football coach. It's week 13 of the season, and we're playing for the Pac-12 title against a really good football team. So it was a nice press conference. It was a nice day, but it's time to go do my job and put the blinders back on and be all ball all the time.
Yeah, and you have to make sure your team has those blinders too, because a lot of this, you tried to push it away, but they were playing for you. They were chanting your name after almost every game. They were on social media and campaigning for you. They played with a great edge during this run. Mm-hmm. How do you maintain that edge, that they have now that there is one ending to this fairy tale story, but I know you'd like to keep this ending going.
Well, I'm going to say this, that I told the team this morning, so everybody knows we're not satisfied. We know the expectations at USC. It's championships, and you have to live up to that standard. And what an unbelievable story. It'd be one of the greatest stories, I think, in Trojan history for a group of players to be where they're at and come back and have the opportunity to win a Pac-12 championship and go to the Rose Bowl. We have a huge step to take, against Stanford. But they know the legacy that can be left, especially these seniors. So they've been up there already watching film and getting ready, and they're excited. And the practice and the lift today was absolutely awesome. So I think they're in a great place, a great frame of mind. And I think they really learned at that UCLA game what a disciplined football team and a disciplined football game can do for them. And we've got to carry that discipline over to this Saturday.
It's interesting that you say that, because that was one of the things I noticed, a major difference with the attitude that the team took, or the approach that the team took mentally into the game, mm-hmm. compared to even years past. Mm-hmm. They weren't getting into the rah-rah, the jumping around the chant. It was just like, hey, look, lineups, come right here. We're going to settle this right now on the field. How did you get them to change and take maybe even some of the emotion out of the game and get some of the focus back in it?
Yeah, we really had a huge sell all week about doing our job. Don't buy into the hype of the game or the emotion of the game. If we want to win the game, look up at the end of the game at that scoreboard. It's about 11 players doing their job over and over and over and staying aggressive on defense, getting to the quarterback, being able to get turnovers. We said we wanted 3 turnovers in that game. We got 3. We said we couldn't give up a turnover on offense. We had to run the football. We ran it 59 times and didn't turn it over once, And then we said we had to play great special teams. We wanted a non-offensive touchdown in that game. And Adoree Jackson, the punt return team, came through again. So very proud of the effort the kids gave.
You got 2. You got a defensive touchdown also. And you know, we're going to talk to Marcus Allen later in the show. Something tells me he's going to be happy with the 59 rushing attempts. That's Marcus's kind of game. We'll get back here with Coach. Another segment coming up as we'll talk about UCLA and, of course, the matchup coming up with Stanford. But first, a quick break after we tell you that you can see the top college players as they prepare for the NFL Draft playing live in the NFLPA Collegiate Bowl Saturday, January 23rd at StubHub Center in Carson. Tickets at collegiate.nflpa.com. Back with your new head coach, Clay Helton, on Trojans Live next.
Rosen in trouble. Fumble. Picked up. Taken by the Trojans. Return the other way. Rasheem Green. He's in the end zone. It's a touchdown. Rasheem Green. And a touchdown. USC.
It's one of those non-offensive touchdowns that Clay Helton was talking about, and we're going to stick here with the coach, brought to you by your Southern California BMW Centers. Hurry into BMW Novemberfest for a credit of up to $6,500 on select models. Details at SoCalBMW.com. Jordan Moore, John Jackson, joined again by Clay Helton here on Trojans Live. And you were talking about this aggressive defense. Coach, it looked like a completely different secondary that played against Oregon. What was changed schematically? Because it did look like all of a sudden, I mean, even Sue would talk to us, hey, there was some mono football being played. But then, you know, how are they able to erase that performance? And a guy like Iman Marshall, maybe the worst game of his college career, followed by the best game of his college career.
Yeah, extremely proud of the kids and our defensive staff for the plan they put together. We really went into that game saying we're going to play about 80% of man coverage and really focus on the matchups in the game. And you saw Sua match up against Duarte, who's a terrific football player. You saw Biggie match up against Jordan Payton, who's a terrific football player. Felt like not only did they have great size, but athleticism. Anytime you play that tight man coverage, it's hard for a quarterback. You know, you have to be extremely accurate. But the other part of that is you have to get to the quarterback. Yeah. And we really challenged our defensive line and our linebackers with our 5- and 6-man pressures that we had to get a really talented kid in Josh Rosen, kid that I feel like is going to play on Sunday one day, that we had to make him move around and hopefully get him to where he'd make an error. And I think the pressure did that.
You know, one of the other focuses in trying to stop UCLA's run game and Paul Perkins, and I know that your fundamental thing is we're going to stop the run first. We're not going to let them, run down the field on us. He had a touchdown, of course, a missed tackle there. He had one decent run, but for the most part, he had 95 yards. You kept him in check. You talk about the defensive line and how far they have come from when you started, and there's some of the adjustments that have been made. Because the run defense, that's really where it started. Yeah,
we, as you saw, it was a loaded box for the most of the day. If they had 5 offensive linemen, we had 6 men in the box. If they had 5 offensive linemen tight end, we had 7. So we really committed to loading the box, but also being a great fundamentally tackled team because we've really felt like Perkins could break tackles. He's extremely strong for his size and really runs through some arm tackles. So. We missed a couple, but for the majority of the day, I was really proud for the effort that they gave getting a really talented back down on the ground. And we did our blueprint. I mean, we outrushed our opponent again, and that started with great team defense.
On the other side of the ball, I thought the last 2 years, UCLA's front 7 won the game, and I thought this time your offensive line won the game, and it was evident right from the start. Were you surprised at how well they were able to control the line of scrimmage, and did you just start getting a feeling throughout that game that it was building and you were wearing them down, and then you look up at the end and you controlled the ball for 40 minutes?
Yeah, we've been building up to this game throughout the last 7 games. We said seven games ago that, hey, O-line and D-line is going to win us a championship, win us a Pac-12 South championship, and everything that we've done from practice to game planning has been a commitment to the trenches, and those kids are living up to it. We practice it every day. We make it an important thing for them, and I tell you what, they are absolutely living up to the standard that we want.
Did you see in film today Bob Connolly's drop kick of his headset?
There was. I warned everybody, both players and coaches. This game is very emotional.
Oh my God! He kicked that thing maybe 15 yards down the field, and the referee turns around and was like, "Oh my God! Don't throw a flag! Don't throw a flag on him!" He scrambled out there and got it.
We have a get-back coach, Ivan Lewis, that's supposed to keep the players back. I'm going to assign somebody else also to keep the coaches back. Him and Johnny Nansen that were out on the numbers when we made that big third down.
Coach, there's a lot of special things that happened in that game, but I know probably the situation you took pride in the most, the last drive of the game, where you guys had the ball. Once again, we've talked about this several weeks, and especially after victories, the commitment to run the ball. Everybody in the stadium knows you're going to run the ball. And you called a timeout on 3rd and 2 to sort of bring the offense in together and huddle. What was the message to them before the series, during that timeout, and then, of course, before the touchdown pass?
Very, very proud of the 13 minutes and 15 seconds the offense held the ball in that last period in that 11-play drive. It started off at the beginning of the series really challenging Justin Davis. That at the end of the games, great backs finish games, and the way he ran in that in that game in that touchdown drive was very important for us. Did a terrific job, as well as the offensive line. I think we may have set a new world record for running power to the right side. But give credit to Zach Banner and that right side, and Damian Mama pulling, and Chad and Chris Brown pulling. I mean, they did an unbelievable job. And then on the 3rd and 2, it was just a critical down, and I wanted to make sure everybody was on the same page that this would probably be the one that ended the game, and make sure that we all knew our assignments, knew we had plenty of timeouts. We were in a situation I just didn't want any miscommunication. So we talked through it, very poised, ran the play, got the first, and then Cody and Taylor did what they did on the next 3rd down to score.
Well, you've got another big game coming up. That's the beauty of this. You're in a playoff tournament now, and this one gets even bigger. Now, you face Stanford. It's almost like an NFL feel to this, where you get a second time around facing the same team. Obviously, it's such a different team, so how will it be a different game than the one that we saw played out in the Coliseum in September?
Yeah, I thought it was a great game early on, earlier in September, by two really good, talented teams, as we see, and two physical football teams. Yeah. I believe we've become a more physical team. You can see, you could question, these are two of the more physical teams in our league right now that are playing at the end of the season. In that game, when you get two good teams together, it's about executing. And we didn't execute well in the 4th quarter of that game, and they scored and we didn't. We had some situations where there was a penalty or a missed assignment that shut down a drive. And while they scored, we didn't match. So we have to play just like we did last week, 4 quarters of very inspired, disciplined football against an extremely talented, well-coached Stanford team.
And the big question is, Stanford always goes in with those extra tackles and tight ends and all that other kind of stuff. How much better is this team now to handle what Stanford's going to throw at you?
Well, I tell you what Stanford's doing a great job of is I really think David and his staff are doing a great job of, they've started to spread things out too. Yeah. They've noticed that their skill players are, between Hooper and McCaffrey, these guys are unbelievable skill players that are out there, and so they've used some 3 wides to be able to run the ball, throw the ball. Then they mix up the 22 personnel. They're a nightmare to just get the personnel groupings and the formations. I think there were 51 formations in one game, 51 different formations that you got to line up to. So that's going to be a huge challenge. I think that I think right now we're a better football team than we were in the beginning of the year. But at the end of the day, we're going to have to execute and play like we did last week with great assignment football in my mind.
And it feels like you're a more similar football team to them and than you were the first time around. And so I wonder, is it almost a race? I always like to ask you, what's the one, other than the final score, the one statistical category that maybe decides this one? Is this a race to time of possession? Is this a race to who's going to outrush who in this one? Because it seems like both teams, at least under your blueprint, have been targeting the same things.
Yeah, I think both teams will come in that they know that the strength of both teams is the running game, and right now, and obviously we'll have plans to stop the run. I think where the key is, these are 2 exceptional quarterbacks that are in this game. I think they both are the top 2 efficiency quarterbacks in our conference, and 2 2 seniors that are going to go on and play on Sundays. I really think that's going to be the big challenge is Cody, dueling with Kevin, and it was kind of like that in the first game, and both kids are exceptional players, and when you have those loaded boxes, you're going to have those one-on-one matchups, just like Darius Rogers had on his catch for a touchdown this week. So I think the quarterback play is going to be critical in this game.
I almost forgot one individual effort, Nico Falah, right? He steps in as the 4th center for you this year to have to play that position. Unfortunately, we haven't talked about him because the snaps were on target. And he was, we would have talked about him if he was messing up the snaps and missing blocks. So I figured we should talk about him if he played well. Talk about just his individual effort, where he. And a lot of people might not know where he's come from, how far down the depth chart I say, to get to that opportunity and then be able to perform.
I don't know if I'm more proud of anybody on our football team right now than Nico. I'll be honest with you. And I pointed it out to the team this morning. I showed a couple clips of Nico and how he really went against a really talented player in Kenny Clark and really executed well. But it wasn't that day. It was the 3 years of preparation leading up to that day, and him being in the weight room and him being in the developmental practices, him staying pre-practice, post-practice. He was waiting for his opportunity, and he made the most of it. And credit to him. He's a big reason we won that game.
And you're going to need more unsung heroes, no doubt, on Saturday. USC versus Stanford for the Pac-12 championship. It's going to kick off at 4:45 p.m. on ESPN. If you can't join us in Levi's Stadium up in Santa Clara, you can watch the game right here at the Lab. And then when dust settles and we figure out what bowl the Trojans are going to, actually it could be very easy to figure it out. If they win the game, they're headed to the Rose Bowl. We will talk to Coach again. But again, congratulations. Well earned, and we thank you all season for joining us and look forward to doing this with you in the future. So thank you to the coach. When we come back, we'll talk to one of your players, Sua Cravens, next to join Trojans Live.